Okay, there we go. So, no, it's not up there. Left top, should all be up there. Why is it not up there? Nobody knows. Hello, hello. It's coming up in 1 second. All right, there it is. Okay, so we're talking about the sub-sandwich, right? We're talking about this chapter is about fair division. This is the hardest chapter, probably. Not dramatically so, but I think it's a little harder than most of the other chapters. Some of the parts are a little tricky. Fair division. It's about breaking things up fairly, but different people have different value systems. That's part of the trick of it, isn't it? So, how do you deal with it when different people have different value systems? Well, you just read what their value is, and you track it. So what is it saying here? This might be different than last time. It kind of randomizes it each time. This submarine sandwich is $17. And what is it? Jared, we're talking about, they're asking about Jared again. Jared likes meatball 3 times as much as vegetarian, right? He likes meatball 3 times as much. So remember what we did? We wanted to ask the question, where will Jared make the cut? Remember, the cutter always cuts it fair in his opinion because he gets last pick, and he's afraid he won't get a fair piece. Does that make sense? You got to get that concept real clear. So the cutter cuts it so that it's 50-50 in his mind. He will always do it that way because he gets the last pick, right? So the cutter, or the divider, let me just put it that way. It's called divider-chooser method. So the divider cuts 50-50 in his value system. That's what the cutter always does because, I guess I'm doing bad English here. That's just a comma. Because he gets last pick, right? He cuts, the other person chooses first. So he knows he's going to get last pick, so he'll cut it 50-50 in his value system, just so he doesn't get an unfair share. So where would that be for Jared? Well, we learned it's not going to be the very middle, because that wouldn't be fair by Jared. He doesn't think that veggie half is worth as much as the meat half, right? Jared likes meat 3x and veggie only x, right? Jared likes meat 3 times as much as veggie. That's what it says up here, 3 times. So Jared won't cut it in the middle. That would only be x and 3x value. That wouldn't be equal. So instead, if you add those up, it's 4x altogether, right? 1x and 3x. So Jared will cut it 2x, 2x, won't he? He won't break it up 1x, 3x. That wouldn't be even in his value system. He'll break it up 2x, 2x. Well, how do you break it up 2x, 2x? You got to go further to the right. You got to break into this 3x section, don't you? So how far? Well, if I break up this whole zone into 3 pieces, right? This zone here is just x, but the right side is 3x. So if I break up this zone into 3 equal pieces, they'll each be x, won't they? Does that make sense? So how far is it from 18 to 36? It's 18. If you take 36 minus 18. 36 minus 18 is 18. So the width of this half is 18, and 18 divided into 3 equal pieces is 6. So each of those x's will be 6, 6, 6 in length. Is that making sense? So from 18 to add 6, 24. From 24 to add 6, 30. And from 30 to 36. So that'll be x, x, x. And then all of this is x. Does that make sense? Right, I broke that 3x section into 3 equal pieces, each 6 inches long. 18 to 24, 24 to 30, 30 to 36. And they're each x. How do I know? Well, because he said he liked meat 3 times as much. This whole section, this whole right half is 3x. So each of those is x. That's why I divided by 3. And this whole left half is x. So where will Jared make the cut? He will make the cut right there, won't he? Because that'll put 2x on this side and 2x on that narrow side. Equal value in Jared's way of valuing things. He will think that's an equal value cut, won't he? He won't care which half he gets. He would just as much like the small meat thing as he would the whole veggie and just a little bit of meat. He thinks they're equal value, according to him. See how I came up with that? We all good? So where will he cut? He'll cut a 0.24 piece, won't he? Which is this one, D. Right? He'll cut from 0 to 24 and then from 24 to 36. Those are the two sections that Jared will cut. We good with that so far? Equal value? And answer that part of the question. Okay, so Jared makes his cut, right? So there's, again, this is going to 24 and to 30, right? And this whole thing here is X, and this is X, X, X. Jared will make his cut right there. Okay, so now, after Jared, so that's what Jared will do. Just picture these two working this thing out, right? You know, we're trying to help them both get a fair share, right? Using this is called the divider-chooser method. So Jared will come in, he'll look at things, he'll make his cut at 24, because that's 2x, 2x, and his way of valuing things. And then Carla gets to pick, right? The cutter's the last pick. So Jared makes the cut, boom. Carla makes the pick. So when Jared cuts it right here at 24, which side will Carla pick? Yeah, she'll most definitely pick this. This will be what Carla will pick. Why? Remember how Carla feels? Somewhere it says, Carla's a vegetarian, doesn't eat meat. So to her, the meat is just garbage, right? That's how she feels. She's just going to pick she gets the whole vegetarian and a little bit of garbage, is how she sees it, right? Because all she cares about is the vegetarian. So she'll for sure pick S1. See, I answered S1 there. S1 is the 0 to 24 piece. Slice 2, slice 1, slice 2. So slice 1 is the left side. She'll pick the left side for sure. Is this making sense? Please speak up if it's not. I know this is the hardest chapter. Jared makes the cut right here. Carla, you pick. She'll pick. Now, Jared doesn't know Carla's value system, right? This is real life, not when people go to lunch, really. But, when nations divide land up and, and all that kind of thing, when that really happens. So I'm listening to Winston Churchill's biography as I drive around, and they're already talking about how they're going to divide up post-war Europe, right? Russia and Britain and America. Anyway, so when these kind of things, real life, and people divide up inheritances, they're not always happy. They don't always care about what the other person wants. So we need a method that'll make it be fair. That's what the math is trying to do, right? Even in a hostile situation, even when you don't know what the other person's thinking or wanting, this will force fairness. And when different people have different values, this math will force the fairness. So Jared will make the cut right here because he thinks that's equal in his opinion. And Carla will go, oh, well, I just like veggie, so I'm for sure taking the left side. So Carla will grab the left side. So Jared will be stuck with a little bit of meatball on the right, but technically he's happy, right? He thinks that's just as valuable as the other side. Even though it's less sandwich, it's got twice as much meat as the other part, right? And that's a 2x value, and the other was a 2x value in his opinion too. He's happy. He gets a fair share. She gets a fair share. Everybody gets what they think is a fair share. Notice. It does force fairness in their individual value systems, doesn't it? See the genius of the method? So anyway, here's their final question. What is the value? They mean like money to Carla. The whole sandwich cost $17, remember? They together chipped in or whatever and bought the whole sandwich for $17. The entire sandwich cost $17. The question is now, and Carla's taken the left side, well, from the 24 over, right? That's what Carla's taking. Okay. What is the value of this share, this left, from 24 over part to Carla? All those words matter. What is the value of that piece, monetary, like how much money is that worth to Carla? Let me give you 30 seconds. Try to put on Carla's glasses. Think about what that's worth to Carla. Anybody have any thoughts? $17. Anybody else think that? $17? Nobody else thinks that? Nobody else understands, because that's right. $17. Tell us why it's $17.
Because she doesn't value the people outside.
Right? How are you at putting on other people's glasses? Something our society could use a lot better of. We all have our own values. But really, really, put on Carla's glasses for a minute. Think how Carla thinks. What does she say she thinks? She's a vegetarian. You hand her meat sandwich, you're handing her garbage, in her opinion anyway. I don't feel that way, but that's how Carla feels. She thinks it's garbage. So what does Carla think all of this meat stuff is worth? Zero. What would she pay for that meat stuff? Zero. She thinks that's worth nothing, right? Isn't that what it says? She's a vegetarian. She only values veg. So she thinks all the worth of the sandwich is in the veggie side. All $17, which is the cost of the sandwich, she thinks is in the veggie side. And what did she obtain? All of the veggie and a little bit of garbage. So what does she feel like she obtained? All $17. She thinks, she's like, I got the whole value. That's what she thinks. I got a total fair deal, is what Carla thinks, huh? Does that make sense? Do you see how to put on the other person's glasses and think like they think? That's how Carla feels. So, yeah, she thinks she got the whole $17 in value. How we doing? Is that making sense? That good? All right. I'll move on from that, hoping that is good. Feel free. Let's try it. All right. So, they took A, B, C, and D, Abe, Betty, Corey, Dana, sharing a cake. Da, 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 da. So they got some big cake. I don't know what it is. And they cut it into a bunch of pieces. X, Y, Z, and W. Who knows what it looks like? They chopped up some cake into 4 pieces somehow. And then they each gave their feeling on how much the different pieces were worth monetarily, right? Abe thinks piece X is worth $1.82. He thinks piece Y is just the bomb. $6.92. He thinks piece Y is like way better. Maybe that's his favorite flavor or whatever, et cetera, right? So do you understand what that table is saying then? It's saying what each of the people thinks about the various pieces of the cake and what they're valuable, how valuable they are to them. Okay, so with that in mind, what we want to do, what you always need to determine is, it's asking which of the 4 slices are fair to Abe, So to figure out what is fair to somebody, what does fair mean? What does fair mean? If I came with a big bag of M&Ms, how about that? Big bag of M&Ms. And I said, guys, I'm going to share with you fairly. Fairly. What would that mean, to share with you fairly? Exactly, mathematically fairly. What would that mean? Wouldn't I have to take the total amount of M&Ms and divide it by, what are there, 13 of you? 13, and you'd each get an equal share, right? Whatever the total divided by 13 is. Wouldn't that be fair? So fair, we all agree, right? Fair is total amount of whatever, M&Ms or money or whatever it is, total value, let's put it that way, total value of the whole cake, the whole sandwich, the whole whatever, divided by number of people involved in the breakup, huh? So if there are 13 people here, I'd need to divide the number of M&Ms by 13. If there was only 10 of you here, I would divide by 10. You'd each get more M&Ms, huh? Right? That makes sense? You got to divide by the number of people. That's what fairness means, equal division. Okay, so what does that mean about Abe? Well, for Abe then, we need to take the total of all these, because that's what he thinks the whole cake is worth, right? We got to add up all those money amounts for Abe. So let's do Abe somewhere over here. Okay, so I'm going to take Mr. Abe and I'm going to add them up. $1.82 plus $6.92 plus $3.53 plus $1.73, and then I'm going to that's the total, and then I'm going to divide that by how many people in this problem? 4 people, right? 4 people. So it's the total divided by 4. I'm going to grab my calculator. You want to crank those out real quick? I'm going to get mine and crank them out. That's okay. Anybody got that person already? No. You guys been working on these? You're not just waiting for me, are you? Before I'm getting 3.5. No, 350. So that's a fair share according to Abe. Abe says, so I'm going to make a little fair column here. Abe says 350. 350 for Abe. Can you read that? So let me try that again. So fair. Abe, Betty, boom. Run out of room here. 350. So Abe says 350 is a fair share. I just added up his 4 numbers and divided by 4. It's got an average, in other words. Right? I took the total, right, to Abe, add them all up, right, and then divide by 4. That's a fair share. Does that make sense? Total divided by number of people. Okay, next I'm going to do Betty. Same thing. Add them up. 450 and 4. Oh, they're all 450. Well, that's going to come out 450. Right, if you add 450, 450, 450, 450, divide by 4, you're going to get 450. That's a fair share to Betty. Hey, what's up with Betty? Why are they all equal? Nobody else has that. What does that mean? What do we know about Betty? Betty's the cutter. Betty's the one who cut the cake, right? There was this big old cake, and Betty came in and went boom, boom, boom. How do I know? What does the cutter always do? Cutter gets last pick. So what does the cutter always do? Cut them all even, because they know they get last pick, right? So whenever you see somebody that has the same all the way, you know they're the divider. They're the cutter. Does that make sense? I'll just say cutter or divider, chooser. That's what it's called. So the divider always divides them equal in their value system, right? Because they get last pick. So they're the one that cut the cake or cut the sandwich or cut the whatever. Okay, next person is Corey. So Corey, going to add them up, 182, 179, 305, and 534. Divided by 4. 182, 179, 3.05, and 5.34. Before I'm getting $3 straight on. So 3.00. That's a fair share to Corey. That's the total divided by 4. Right? You see what I'm doing there? I'm adding up, saying, what does Corey think the whole thing is worth? Add them all up and then divide by 4. So a fair share is $3 to Corey. That's the whole thing divided by 4 for Corey. And finally, Dana. Dana. Is it Mr. or Mrs.? I don't know. Dana can go either way. Dana. So 191. And what is it? 208. 208, 247, and 354. Divided by 4. 191, 2.08, 2.47, and 3.54 equals, divided by 4 equals 250. So according to Dana, a fair share is 250 or more. How did I get that? I added up all of Dana, got the total value of the whole cake to Dana, divided by 4 people. Dana thinks 250 is fair, because that's the total value divided by 4. So this is what they think are fair. So now what we need to do is go back and underline, circle, however you want to do it, the ones that are fair for each person. Let's start with Dana, who we just did. Dana, any piece that's worth 250 or more is to Dana fair. So what is Dana like? Only W. She almost thinks Z is a fair share, but not quite. 247 is not 250. The only one that Dana thinks is fair is W. How about Corey? Let's back up to Corey. Corey would like Z or W, right? Those are worth $3 or more. So Corey thinks Z or W is a fair share. Betty thinks they're all fair because she cut them. They're all 450. Betty thinks the divider thinks they're all fair because the divider cut them that way. Finally, let's go up to Abe. Abe says 350 or more, right? 350. So that would be Z or Y. Boy, he really likes Y. Z or Y. So he thinks Z or Y or Z, are fair for Abe. Any of the other ones are not fair. They're 350 or more. See how I'm doing all that? I just added them up and divide by 4. Circle the ones that are fair shares. So they're going to basically go through a bunch of questions and they're going to say, which ones are fair to Abe? Which ones are fair to Betty? Which ones are fair to Corey? Which ones are fair to Dana? And you just list them out with commas. Like for Abe, what would it be? Y and Z? So for Abe, we'd go Y, comma, Z. There would be the answer for Abe. Y, comma, Z. Just list them with commas. Y and Z are fair. So just go on through for each person. They'll ask you who the divider is. It's Betty. And then they'll say, hey, is there a way to break up this cake fairly? Let me finish with that question. Their last question is usually, is there a way to break this up fairly? What do you think, guys? Is there a way to break this up a fair division, or are they going to have to recut the cake? Let's do it fair. To do a fair division, let's start with the pickiest person. Who's the person that only likes one piece? Dana, right? Dana only likes W. So if you're gonna make everybody happy, which is the goal, happy meaning they think they got a fair shake, got to give Dana W. There's no other choice. Dana wouldn't be happy with any other piece. Okay, suppose we give W to Dana. Who's the next most picky person? Well, probably Corey. Now, let's go to Corey. What would we do? What would we give Corey then? We'd have to give Corey the Z because Corey only likes Z and W. We already gave W to Dana. So we give Corey Z. So far, so good. Skip Betty. Betty can have any of them. She's the cutter. She's happy with any of them. She gets the last pick anyway. Go up to Abe. What are we going to give Abe? Abe would be happy with either Y or Z. We've already given away Z. Yeah, give him Y. He's thrilled with Y. And then finally, Betty. Betty will take any of them. Which one's left? X, huh? So give Betty X. Yeah, that's a fair division. They're all happy. They all feel in their value system that they got a fair share. Makes sense on all that? Questions? Good. All right. So that's 3.1.